Have you ever reached for your phone, stared at the screen, and wondered, should I text him first again? Have you ever convinced yourself that maybe he's just busy, maybe he forgot, maybe if you send one more message, he'll finally understand how much you care? The truth is, many people confuse effort with love. They believe that the harder they chase, the stronger the relationship will become. But relationships don't grow because one person keeps running after the other. They grow when two people willingly move toward each other. There comes a moment when silence tells you more than words ever could. A moment when you stop asking why someone isn't calling, why they're taking hours to reply, or why you're always the one carrying the conversation. That moment isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your self-respect. When you stop contacting a man, something interesting happens. The constant noise disappears. The emotional pressure fades. Suddenly, you're no longer focused on convincing someone to see your value. Instead, you begin seeing your own value. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. It's not about trying to manipulate someone into missing you. Healthy relationships aren't built on tricks or emotional tests. They're built on mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual desire to stay connected. Sometimes the greatest message you can send is no message at all, because when you stop chasing, people reveal who they really are. Some will step forward because they genuinely care. Others will remain exactly where they are because they were comfortable letting you do all the work. Either way, you gain something far more valuable than another text conversation. You gain clarity, and clarity is powerful. Too many people spend months, even years, trying to earn attention that should have been given freely. They mistake inconsistency for mystery. They mistake emotional distance for independence. They mistake breadcrumbs for commitment. You deserve more than wondering where you stand. Today, we're going to talk about two things you should do when you decide to stop contacting a man. Not because you're angry, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you finally decided that your peace matters too. These two actions won't just change how he sees you. More importantly, they'll change how you see yourself. And once your standards rise, your entire life begins to change, because confidence isn't loud, self-respect doesn't beg, and real love never has to be chased. One of the hardest things to do after you've cared deeply about someone is to become quiet, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've already said everything that mattered. You've explained how you feel. You've asked if everything is okay. You've reached out first more times than you can count. You've started conversations that never seemed to go anywhere. You've kept hoping that this next message would be the one that changes everything. At some point, you have to ask yourself a difficult question. If someone truly wants to be in your life, why does it always feel like you're the only one trying? Many people are afraid of silence because silence feels like rejection. The phone doesn't ring, the message doesn't come. Hours turn into days, days turn into weeks. Your mind starts creating excuses for someone else's lack of effort. Maybe he's busy, maybe he's stressed, maybe he forgot. The problem isn't that life gets busy. Everyone gets busy. The problem is when you're always the one making excuses while the other person keeps making distance. Real interest has a way of showing itself. Someone who genuinely values you doesn't need to be reminded that you exist. They think about you, they check on you. They make time, even if it's only for a few minutes, because people protect what matters to them. That's why silence can become one of the greatest teachers you'll ever have. When you stop filling every empty space with another text, another phone call, or another attempt to reconnect, you finally create room for the truth to appear, without pressure, without arguments, without emotional speeches. You simply step back, and then you watch. Some people will notice your absence almost immediately. Not because they lost control over you, but because they genuinely miss your presence. They'll wonder how you're doing. They'll reach out, they'll make an effort because the relationship matters to them. Others won't notice at all. That realization hurts. It stings because you've invested your heart, your time, and your energy into someone who seemed perfectly comfortable receiving everything while giving very little in return. That's not an easy truth to accept. Sometimes we become so focused on keeping someone close that we ignore the fact they're not trying to keep us close. Love should never feel like a one-person job. Think about the relationships that make you feel safe. You don't have to guess where you stand. You don't have to overanalyze every message. You don't spend your nights wondering if you've become too much. There's consistency, there's care, there's peace. When someone wants you in their life, you don't have to earn basic attention. The moment you stop contacting a man, you're not punishing him. You're giving both of you the opportunity to be honest. If every conversation disappears because you stop starting it, it tells you something. If weeks go by without a single effort from him, that tells you something too. It may not be what you wanted to hear, but it's what you needed to know. Clarity is often painful before it becomes freeing. Too many people stay trapped because they're afraid of discovering the truth. They'd rather continue chasing than face the possibility that the relationship only existed because they refused to stop trying. But living in uncertainty is exhausting. You begin questioning yourself. You wonder if you're asking for too much. You start lowering your standards just to keep someone around. That's a dangerous place to be. The right relationship should never require you to shrink your worth. Silence removes the distractions. It strips away the excuses. It exposes effort exactly as it is. No filters, no pretending, no emotional negotiations, just actions. Docs have always been more honest than words. Anyone can promise they'll call tomorrow. Anyone can say they care. Anyone can talk about the future. But consistency cannot be faked forever. Eventually, every person reveals where their priorities truly are. When you stop reaching out, you're no longer measuring someone's feelings by what they say. You're measuring them by what they choose to do, and choices rarely lie. That realization can break your heart for a while, but it also protects your future. Because the sooner you recognize who's willing to meet you halfway, the sooner you stop wasting your love on someone who's only willing to receive it without returning it. The moment you stop chasing someone, you begin reclaiming pieces of yourself that you didn't even realize you had lost. You stop waking up wondering if today will be the day he finally texts. You stop checking your phone every few minutes. You stop allowing someone else's attention to determine whether you feel happy or disappointed. That's not giving up, that's choosing yourself. For too long, your energy may have been focused on convincing someone to see your worth. You replay conversations. You overthink every word. You question whether you said too much or not enough. You carry a weight that was never yours to carry. The truth is, your value doesn't increase because someone finally notices it. Your value has always been there. It doesn't depend on a reply. It doesn't depend on a phone call. It doesn't depend on someone choosing you after keeping you waiting. The strongest decision you can make is to stop seeking validation from someone who keeps making you question your place in their life. That decision changes everything. You begin investing in your own happiness instead of chasing someone else's attention. You reconnect with the people who genuinely care about you. You spend more time building your confidence, your goals, and your peace. Little by little, you remember the person you were before you started carrying the emotional weight of a one-sided relationship. Your smile becomes more genuine. Your mind becomes quieter. Your heart stops living in constant uncertainty. You no longer feel the need to prove that you're enough. Because deep down, you finally understand that the right person will never require you to compete for basic love, respect, or consistency. You stop running after someone who keeps walking away. You start walking toward the life you deserve. You begin making decisions that protect your peace instead of sacrificing it just to keep someone interested. One of the biggest mistakes people make after pulling away from someone is putting their entire life on hold. They keep waiting for a text, waiting for an apology, waiting for a sign that things will finally change. Days pass, but their heart stays stuck in the same place. Don't let your life become a waiting room for someone else's decision. Every hour you spend wondering what he's doing is an hour you're not investing in yourself. Your dreams still matter. Your goals still deserve your attention. Your happiness shouldn't be delayed because someone else can't decide how they feel. Start pouring that energy back into your own life. Learn something new. Take care of your health. Read books that challenge your thinking. Spend time with friends who make you laugh until your stomach hurts. Reconnect with family members you've been too emotionally distracted to fully appreciate. There is so much life waiting for you beyond the screen of your phone. The more you grow, the more you realize that your identity was never meant to revolve around one person. You become stronger with every small step you take, not because the pain disappears overnight, but because your focus begins to shift. Instead of asking, why isn't he choosing me? You begin asking, am I choosing the life I truly want? That question changes everything. Growth has a quiet way of rebuilding confidence. Each accomplishment reminds you that you're capable. Each new experience reminds you that the world is much bigger than one relationship. Your days become fuller. Your mind becomes clearer. Your heart begins making room for hope instead of constant disappointment. You stop measuring your worth by someone's attention and start measuring your life by the peace, purpose, and joy you're creating for yourself. Setting boundaries is one of the purest forms of self-respect. It's not about pushing people away. It's not about being cold, bitter, or trying to teach someone a lesson. It's about deciding what you will no longer accept in your life. Too many people believe that love means tolerating everything. They stay available no matter how they're treated. They answer every late-night message. They forgive broken promises without seeing any real change. They keep giving chances while their own heart grows more exhausted. A boundary simply says, I respect myself enough to stop accepting less than I deserve. You don't have to yell to make that point. You don't have to post indirect messages online. You don't have to argue or explain yourself over and over again. Sometimes the strongest boundary is quiet consistency. If someone only contacts you when it's convenient for them, notice it. If they disappear for days and return expecting everything to be the same, notice it. If their words sound beautiful but their actions leave you feeling lonely, notice that too. Boundaries help you separate empty promises from genuine effort. The people who truly care about you won't be offended by healthy boundaries. They'll respect them. They'll appreciate knowing what makes you feel safe, valued, and respected. The people who become angry because you stopped accepting the bare minimum often reveal more about themselves than they ever intended. You are not difficult for expecting honesty. You are not asking for too much by wanting consistency. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. Every time you honor your boundaries, you remind yourself that love should never require abandoning your own dignity just to keep someone close. You begin choosing respect over temporary attention. You begin choosing peace over emotional confusion. You begin choosing yourself without guilt. Words can be comforting. They can make you feel hopeful. They can paint beautiful pictures of a future you've been dreaming about, but words alone cannot build a healthy relationship. Anyone can say, I miss you. Anyone can promise, I'll do better. Anyone can tell you that you're important. The real question is whether their actions tell the same story. Pay attention to what someone consistently does, not just what they say when they feel they're losing you. If a man says he cares, does he make time for you? If he promises change, do you actually see different behavior? If he says you're a priority, do his choices reflect that? Actions don't need long explanations. They speak for themselves. Someone who truly values you doesn't only show up when it's convenient. They don't disappear without explanation and return expecting everything to be forgotten. They don't leave you carrying all the emotional responsibility while offering only empty reassurances. Consistency is one of the clearest expressions of genuine care. It isn't perfect. People make mistakes. Life gets busy. But someone who wants to keep you in their life will make an honest effort to stay connected, communicate, and show that your presence matters. Don't allow beautiful promises to blind you to repeated patterns. Patterns reveal character. One thoughtful action repeated over time is worth far more than 100 emotional speeches that never lead to change. When you start believing actions more than words, you protect your heart from false hope. You stop falling in love with potential. You stop waiting for someday. You begin accepting people as they truly are instead of who you wish they would become. That shift brings clarity. And clarity helps you make decisions based on reality instead of endless promises that never become a consistent way of life. The most attractive quality anyone can have is a life filled with purpose, not because it impresses other people, but because it gives you something no relationship ever can, a deep sense of fulfillment. Too often, people make one person the center of their entire world. Their happiness depends on one text, their mood depends on one phone call, their peace depends on one person's attention. That's an exhausting way to live. Your life is meant to be bigger than that. You have dreams that deserve your energy. You have talents waiting to be developed. You have experiences to enjoy, places to explore, and people who genuinely appreciate your presence. Don't let one relationship become the reason you stop living. Wake up with goals that excite you, build habits that make you stronger, invest in your career, learn new skills, take care of your body and your mind. Celebrate the small victories that remind you how far you've come. The more you build a meaningful life, the less you depend on someone else to complete it. You stop looking for someone to rescue your happiness because you've learned how to create it yourself. That kind of confidence can't be borrowed. It grows from keeping the promises you make to yourself. Ironically, when your life becomes full, you stop chasing people. You stop begging for attention. You stop fearing loneliness because you've discovered that peace is far better than constant emotional uncertainty. The right person won't have to compete with your happiness. They'll become a welcome addition to a life that's already rich with purpose, growth, and self-respect. You'll no longer accept relationships that drain your spirit or make you question your worth. You'll choose connections that bring mutual effort, genuine care, and emotional security because you've learned that your life is valuable with or without anyone's approval.